Good morning and welcome from Chong on Saturday 18th of October 2025. So Chong's a small town northeast of Bangkok and it only takes about 2.5 hours to drive here. So it's a very popular place with Thais living in Bangkok that are wanting to get away for a long weekend. And it is absolutely breathtaking beauty. It really is everywhere. The amount of beautiful forest and mountains in this area and wildlife is overwhelming. It's really everywhere you go. So the only downside about staying here is there's quite a distinct lack of public transport. You can get here by bus, but then once you get here, you're going to be pretty stuck. There's no real taxi services, not even Grab. So if you are heading up, your two options, I suppose, are a tour, but realistically, I'd say you need to drive yourself. So I'm going to be heading into the town. One of the big draws of the place is obviously the natural beauty, but also the massive amount of very high quality restaurants and cafes around the area. Options you've got for accommodation are obviously the lower end of guest houses, which are plentiful. Some really high quality hotels which have amazing restaurants in the hotel as well, and like where we stayed, the villas which are within villages. And I've got to be honest, so I had a walk around here when we arrived yesterday, and there must be 50 houses on this little village, and only one house had a car on its port. And when we came in on the night, there was only that house that had any lights on. So I think, apart from the security and gardeners, which are here, we're basically the only people which stay in here this weekend. And I think it's due to the fact that a lot of the wealthier Thais from Bangkok like to have a place in Khao, as they do in Hua Hin, but it appears that nobody really comes to visit that owns them. But it makes it amazing when you visit, and stay here yourself. So I'll head into town now and we'll see what we can find. So we've just stopped off at Owen's Room, which is a small cafe restaurant just on the way into town. And it appears like most places around here, they put a real effort into making them nice. This has got a cracking fish pond in. And I've just ordered a sautéed pumpkin breakfast, so we'll see how that is once it turns up. So we've just called off at Bonanza Exotic Zoo. Reason I'm here, it's owned by a friend of a friend, and they told me that there's some 3-month-old white lions that I could have a little play around with as long as they've been fed today. So we'll head over there now. If you are wanting to visit, it's 150 baht for Thais, 200 baht for Farang. And it's pretty cool if you've got kids. There's plenty of interaction points where you can feed loads of different animals. They've got white tigers, orangutans, giraffes, a big reptile house, alpacas. And like I said, there's plenty of things for kids to play around with. So I think for the price, it's worth a visit. So we'll head over to the lions now, and hopefully they've been fed and I can have a little bit of a play around with them. Oh, I want to get this one.
Dad,
Ooh.
คิดดูจังเมื่อกี้ยังดีๆอยู่เลยสักครู่นะคะอ่ะ
Oi.
จีไม่เอาไม่เอา
He wants to eat me too.
Maybe he don't like to raw.
มันจะดื้อนี่
โอ้ย
นี่เอาอืม
Should I?
Why not? So we've just stopped off at a coffee shop called Today's Moment, and it seems like there's a huge amount of really high quality coffee shops around here, all with nice views, and they all seem to be run by sort of the people in their early 20s, and they're all doing a roaring trade, so fair play to them. We're on his way to the bat cave at the moment. There's various bat caves around this area, and around 5:30 on an evening, hundreds of thousands of bats will fly out into the local area to get their evening feed. So with a bit of luck, we'll be lucky and we'll be able to see that in action. So we've just arrived at the bat cave, Khao, which is a few miles outside Chong. If you are wanting to visit and you put the Bat Tails Cafe restaurant in your sat-nav or Google Maps, it'll bring you straight to this location. And there's ample parking. There's plenty of seating inside and out. And apparently at 5:30, 6 o'clock, there'll be hundreds of thousands of bats descending from the hillside just where that rocky outcrop is there, so fingers crossed we'll be able to get some good footage, and then we'll see where the evening takes us from there. So there we have it. The bats are starting to exit now. You can see thousands and thousands all exiting into the night sky. I'm going to move now, see if I can get a little bit of a better view. But there's certainly hundreds of thousands, and apparently it goes on for some time as well. So the bats are actually starting to exit the cave now. You can sort of see them now the brown smudgy line flowing down the mountainside. But as they break into the sky there, you can see the huge amount of bats now that are exiting for their evening feed. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So we've just arrived at Bamai, which is the wooden house here in Pak Chong. It's quite a famous place really. It gets really busy through the day, but it is actually better to come in the day. There's quite a lot of little vintage shops and some amazing stuff on show. Unfortunately, all the best stuff is actually not for sale. But these are a few like little collectibles, so it is worth, if you are interested in vintage items or antiques, it's worth coming and having a look. It's based down by the river. The prices are very reasonable. For two of you, you're going to get sort of 4 dishes, a couple of drinks each for just over 1,000 baht. But it is a huge restaurant. Like I say, it is a lot more impressive in the daytime. And I think it must have been here about 15 years, because I can remember coming 10 years ago and it was sort of in full swing there as well. But I'm going to head down and have a bite to eat now. I'll show you the food, and that will be about the end of my day, I think. Right, that's the end of the day now. So the food that we just had there was 1,200 baht, and that was with a beer and a Coke. So we're all pretty reasonable. I'd advise coming to Pak Chong if you live in Bangkok. It's definitely a place where you can get away from the hustle and bustle of the city for a couple of days, and everything's really well priced. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you very much for watching. Any questions, any comments, just leave them below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Cheers.